Hello, history students, and welcome to the first in a series of lessons that will accompany you through your study of United States history. Of course, before we can discuss United States history, we must spend a few minutes discussing the peoples and cultures that inhabited the Americas long before the United States was even a twinkle in the eye of a European colonist. Native Americans have inhabited North and South America for thousands of years, most likely tracing their ancestry back to the first humans to enter the continent by crossing a land bridge from Asia during the last ice age. As global temperatures rose, the ice melted, and the sea levels rose. The land route to Asia disappeared, and the Native American populations would remain isolated for thousands of years. In the centuries that followed, indigenous people would spread out to nearly every corner of North and South America, developing countless tribes, languages, and cultures. And like humans throughout the world, Native American societies were shaped through their interaction with their physical environment. In Central and South America, civilizations such as the Incas and the Aztecs developed large, permanent cities, surrounded by complex agricultural systems which relied heavily on the production of maize, or corn. In the Southwest, the Pueblo people adapted to their arid climate by developing complex irrigation systems and terraced farming techniques that allowed for large-scale corn cultivation. Furthermore, the Pueblo people interacted with their environment through the use of cliff dwellings and adobe homes. In other regions, such as the modern-day southeastern United States, more permanent settlements developed around agriculture, many of them utilizing the technique of three sisters farming. Those three sisters, of course, are corn, squash, and beans. Now, I don't know how many of you out there have a green thumb, but in case you don't know, corn grows on tall stalks, and those stalks acts as a trellis that allows for beans to crawl up. And then those big old leaves of the squash plants cover the soil and help retain moisture. Together, these three sisters allowed for large-scale production of nutrient-rich produce. And with that, we've only begun to scratch the surface of the countless communities and cultures that existed in the Americas prior to European contact. But the main thing I want you to understand is that Native American culture was not monolithic. It was diverse, it was complex, and it was largely shaped through interaction with the physical environment. However, Native American life, and indeed world history, was about to change in a profound way with the arrival of Italian explorer Christopher Columbus in 1492. Why was Columbus in the Americas, you might ask? Well, he got lost. Let me explain. For centuries, Europeans had been trading with the peoples of Middle East and Asia. Folks in those parts of the world had all sorts of cool stuff the Europeans wanted: silks, medicines, and most of all, spices. In order to get those goods to Europe, traders had to travel slowly by foot across vast tracts of lands controlled by powerful Muslim empires. Europeans, wanting cheaper access to the riches of Asia, sought a sea route around Africa that would cut out the middleman. And thanks to improvement in seafaring technology, by the 1490s, Portugal began setting up trading posts all around the African coast and thus controlling European trade to Asia. Spain, Portugal's next-door rival, now under the leadership of Ferdinand and Isabella, sought glory for their nation-state as well. Enter Christopher Columbus. Columbus had an intriguing idea: go east by sailing west. After all, the earth is round. If Columbus sailed westward across the Atlantic, he would eventually wind up in the resource-rich islands of Asia. The Spanish monarchs agreed to support his voyage, and in the summer of 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. In October of that same year, after months at sea, Columbus landed on an island in the Caribbean. However, Columbus didn't know he was in the Caribbean. In fact, he thought he was on the other side of the planet. He thought he was in the Indies, the islands near Asia. Of course, Columbus was completely wrong. He had unknowingly stumbled upon an entire new landmass, a new world. What happened in the years that followed would fundamentally change the trajectory of world history. Following Columbus's arrival in the New World, Spain and other European nations set their sights on claiming territory throughout the Americas. Driven by the desire for gold, glory, and filled with religious fervor, shiploads of explorers, colonists, missionaries, and conquistadors began flooding into the New World. They brought with them animals, plants, and most notoriously Old World diseases to the isolated people of the Americas. This exchange of animals, plants, people, and diseases from the Old World to the New is known as the Columbian Exchange. In the New World, Europeans encountered a virtual cornucopia of fruits and grains and vegetables that would go on to feed European populations. Beans, tomatoes, potatoes, and tobacco would all become staples of European cuisine and culture. Conversely, Europeans brought the Old World to the New. Coffee, sugarcane, bananas, and a menagerie of creatures. Shortly after Columbus's fateful stumble upon the New World, ships of Europeans arrived, carrying with them cows and pigs and horses and European honeybees. These creatures transformed the landscape of the Americas and the culture of Native Americans. The horse, for example, though not native to the Americas, would go on to become crucial to the lives of Plains Indians. The demand for these new resources would extract massive human cost as well. The warm weather of the Caribbean proved to be perfect for Old World sugarcane, and Europeans' addiction to New World tobacco would lead to a demand for labor. In short order, ships of enslaved Africans would arrive in the New World to meet the economic demands of European colonizers. Arguably, there is no aspect of the Columbian Exchange that had a more dramatic impact on the New World than the introduction of Old World diseases to the Americas. Isolated for so long and lacking any natural immunities, these new diseases proved to be catastrophic for Native Americans. Influenza, malaria, typhus, and most notoriously smallpox spread like wildfire throughout native populations, leaving devastation in their wake. For example, within 50 years of Columbus's arrival on the island of Hispaniola, the native population dropped from roughly 1 million people down to 200. As time went on, Europeans would continue to dominate the New World. First the Spanish, but later the French and the English, and others would arrive in the New World. This collision of worlds would go on to have catastrophic effects for Native Americans, as they fell victim to the Europeans' guns, germs, and steel. The collision of Old and New Worlds in 1492 would forever change human history. European colonization of the Americas would have a profound impact on the peoples on either side of the Atlantic. However, as we examine the changes that would occur in the centuries that followed, we mustn't lose sight of the reality that complex, diverse Native American cultures thrived in North and South America for centuries prior to Columbus's fateful journey. Okay, so today we've taken a look at Period 1 of AP United States History. If you found this video helpful, then why not subscribe? And who knows, maybe I'll make some more of them.